Well, hello and welcome to this week's video here at the Restosaga workshop. And this week we are going to have a workshop tour. It's 4 months since I did the last one, and I'm going to try and do this a couple of times a year just to give you a broad overview as to what's going on in the workshop. Not everything I do always appears on the YouTube channel, although I do my best to cover all my projects. So I think it's best just to take a walk around the garage, show you what I'm up to, and talk about what's coming in the weeks and months to come. At the minute in the workshop we have the Land Rover, we have the Toylander, we have other bits and pieces as well. I can also talk about what's coming on the Morris Minor and other things that are in the pipeline coming down the line. So without any further ado, let's have a look around the Restosaga workshop. So over here we have the 3.5-inch scale Highland Lassie, and this is a live steam model, the chassis of which was gifted to my family quite a number of years ago. I did make a video review of this probably a couple of months ago, and it seems to have been quite popular. Quite a lot of people messaging me asking about the project as to what I'm going to do with it. As you can see, there's been a lot of work has gone into this already. There's a lot of machine work going into machining the wheels, sort of the motion, the cylinders here and here. But the major piece of work that is coming down the line for this is the boiler. Now, my knowledge of Livestream locomotives is fairly limited, but I know that boiler making is quite a skill. It involves a wide degree of equipment, such as oxyacetylene heating torches. You're going to need different types of silver solder, the copper, being able to shape it to the appropriate size, and then get it all certificated at the end. So I don't really know that that's going to be within my skill set immediately, but what I would like to do is to get myself hands on a lathe and a milling machine and maybe start using those. But those are quite expensive tools and it's going to take a little while, so this project's definitely on the back burner. I just like to keep it here as a display piece, but in time I'd quite like to make a baseboard for it, maybe with some mock rails, and put it up on that just to keep it nice and keep the dirt away from it. I do spray it over with WD-40 just to keep the rust off it, as this has been here quite some time. This is not new, but just to keep in good order for when I do eventually get around to it. So project on the long finger, but I'd like to keep you updated. Coming around here, there's been a bit of a sort out in the shelves, not particularly exciting for YouTube content, but I'm sure you're all aware that my MG BGT was sold there last month. So I've cleared out all the old MG parts. They went away with the car. I've had the welder out recently making parts for the Toylander, which is here. Toylander 1. I've been at this project just over a year now, and this is going to be a Christmas present for my son. This is a half-scale Land Rover Series 1 80-inch, so obviously this is a 40-inch wheelbase, and it's really come on leaps and bounds recently. It stopped for a while, the body was done, but there wasn't really anything mechanical. Since then though, in the last few episodes we've added the full steering system. Both axles are on, the brakes are in, so there's a foot brake as well as a handbrake. The screws are all there because my son, who is only 2, he likes to dump the screws out into the Toylander. It's not going to scratch the paint, it's all good. What else have I done? I've added the windscreen, having welded up the hinges, and that's why the welder was out quite recently. I've taken the seats out, and they're stored up there out of harm's way. So really, next thing on the agenda is these bits and pieces here on the floor, and this will be coming in the next episode or 2 on the Toylander 1. The first package contains the steel to make the bumper, which obviously sits at the front, and the second package is a steel tube for making a grab handle that goes across the bulkhead. So plenty of work to be gone on with. I love a bit of metal fabrication, especially with good thick steel. It's not difficult to weld, and it doesn't blow through like it did on the Morris Minor, so nice thick steel is good fun to work with. So that's what's coming in the Toylander. Big expenses holding it up are the wheels, so I'm going to need 4 wheels plus 1 for the bonnet as a spare, and I need the 2 motors and a battery, so quite a lot of expense to come in the next few months for this Toylander, so we need to build up some finances. So if you wish to support me, please consider joining me on the Patreon page, link for which is below. But even the watching of these videos is help in enough at that point. Coming around here, more screws from my son, thanks very much for that. Up on the bench, the venerable old Tang Tools toolbox. And coming across here is the differential. Now, there is a series ongoing, pretty sporadic to be honest. I'm rebuilding the differential here for the Series 3 Land Rover, which is hiding behind me. This is in the middle of a rebuild, mainly because the pinion crown wheel, which should not have that, looks like someone's taken a bite out of it there actually, that is very broken, as is the pinion. So it needs new crown wheel pinion, and because that probably fired a load of metal around, it's going to get new bearings throughout as well. Very much in the long finger, no rush, as you know I recently did the back axle on the Land Rover, so not really needed just in the meantime. Taking a step back, my wall of decorations, which are not really decorations, just bits and pieces. My little souvenir from the MG ownership is the spinner saver that was just kept, and the stay-at-home motor show plaque from the COVID-19 lockdown period. I just put those up on the wall. Around here, this is another project also in the long finger, probably not the most classic car related, but if I move the gas cylinders out of the way, I have some bits of steel box cut to length for reasons that will become clear in a little second, and I have these drop plates. Now, the plan with these is to weld the steel box on. Need to work out my angles, that's why I haven't done it yet. Is to weld those on and make a bike rack, because I have these two arms which I salvaged, and those arms sit in these tubes as a socket, and then they go around the tow bar. So I'm going to make two, one for my daily driver and one for the Land Rover. It means family can take bicycles out and make the Land Rover just a bit more useful. So that's in a piece to come. Not a particularly difficult fabrication job, but something fairly interesting anyway, and definitely something you could do at home. I bought the steel plate off eBay, and I bought the box off eBay as well, so something anyone with a welder could easily do. Coming round here, back at the Land Rover, you'll notice there seems to be a lot of copper grease on the Land Rover. Copper grease on the tyre, copper grease on the hinge. The back seems to have survived alright, but there's little smears everywhere. And my son got into my copper grease pot and decided to paint the Land Rover with copper grease. All very interesting, but a little bit annoying, so I'm going to have to work out how to wipe that off the wheels before I take it out for the next time and get it all over my garage floor and down the road, so definitely don't want that. You'll also notice underneath the Land Rover there's this very suspicious little puddle of oil coming from the right front swivel, the driver's side swivel. I think there, and you can see the rusty spring poking out from underneath, and that really is going to be the next major job on the 1976 Land Rover Series 3 88-inch diesel, which features so heavily on my channel. It's going to need a full front axle rebuild, two new swivels as they're quite pitted and rusty, despite only being on for 10 years, which is a bit concerning. It's leaking oil everywhere, there's a few suspicious clunks and so on, but it is very usable still. So that is going to be the next job, and probably treated to two new springs. So as I said, we recently did the rebuild in the rear suspension, time to do it in the front suspension, front steering, and make sure all the oil leaks are solved. Speaking of oil leaks, there's no drops of oil on the floor. Isn't that a success? Having gone through the Land Rover and completely oil-proofed the rear axle, that has cured quite a lot of oil leaks. But I want to do the front axle, and then it'll be time to move on to the engine, and we'll talk about that maybe in a little second. So that's really where we're going next for that. Next week's video is going to be dealing with the Land Rover, as I talk about how to make your Land Rover a bit more useful for daily driving, so make sure you stay tuned for that, and you'll catch it again next Saturday at 5 PM British Standard Time. Or GMT, I'm not really sure what to call it these days. It seems to change. Moving over here, model car collection. I had talked in the last episode of giving this a bit of a tidy up. Still haven't got round to it as I've been too busy with other bits and pieces. This used to be round here between the garage doors, but I've moved it back to here, and I think it frees up some room at the front of the garage. All the models have moved around, so they all sort of need pulled out, tidied up, and then the cabinet actually gets screwed to the wall just so it doesn't fall over. Love this poster. This is a present from my wife at Christmas, and it forms the background, as I'm sure you've noticed, to the start and finish of most of my videos. Features the MG, which is, as I said, now gone from the fleet and sorely missed, and it's a little reminder of the three cars there posted as a fleet. Also over here, my collection of little bits and pieces. This is an old farm torch. Not really sure of the era as to it, but I've slowly collecting up some bits and pieces to fix it up. It should be quite a nice little piece to go with the Land Rover. As did the old thermos flask was my grandfather's, and that was what the Land Rover was, one of its uses for, was taking soup down to the men working in the field, as it's in the family from new. Also my little Mamod steam engine, must get that up and running again soon. I made a video of it way back a couple of years ago, I think, so I think it'll be time for a new video, maybe a bit more better produced, and I'm sure quite a lot of you would maybe enjoy that. You can let me know. This reminds me, this is my half-inch impact driver. This was given to me as a gift by a friend, and it's really come in useful using on the Toylander. So top use for this. I might do a product review on that, and if you think you would enjoy that, or if I get some benefit from it, please let me know underneath. Bicycle on the turbo trainer, nothing particularly to do with Restosaga, it's just my way of getting a bit of exercise and also spending a bit of extra time in the garage, but will not tell Mrs. Restosaga that much. Around here, some bits and pieces from Junior Restosaga. And to be honest, on the other side of the Land Rover is just the gardening bits and pieces. So I think we'll leave it there and we'll wrap this video up. Hopefully that's been quite interesting for you. And there you have it. This is July's update and tour of the Restosaga Garage Workshop. I hope you've enjoyed it, seeing all the different projects that are ongoing at the minute. Some of them don't always make it onto camera, and some of them will be coming down the line very much too. If there's anything you've particularly enjoyed or some things you'd like to see a bit more of, please let me know in the comments below. I reply to all my comments. Give the video a like and hit the subscribe button too, because that's the best way to keep up with everything that's going on. Also hit the little bell icon, because then you'll get a notification every time there's a new video. But as you know, I release my videos at 5 o'clock every Saturday. That's British time, as I've said. You can also catch me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Hit me up there. And as I said, my Patreon page is live, and I'd like to thank MH Aquatics for supporting me continually over the weeks and months past. Please consider subscribing, that would help me build this channel. As you know, it's always great to have your support. So without any further ado, thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you again next week. Cheerio!